Hi everyone, it's Carolyn, here to share another channeled message from the Light Keepers, a group of angelic beings that I channel for your awakening and ascension journey support. And then I offer you my take and a conversation around the topic, as well as some examples from my life. So today I want to talk about something that has really been rolling around in my mind the last few days. And they each may sound counter to themselves, but I feel they are part and parcel of the same thing. And that is manifesting your best life. The whole idea of manifesting anything you want in your life, creating the best life for yourself and everything that is goodness. And yet at the same time, the idea of, are you being tested? Are we being tested along the way? And today what I'm going to do is talk about it from not just this life's journey, but kind of the whole soul journey perspective. So thank you so much for joining me today. For those of you who are new, I'm Carolyn Zaiser. I'm a channel, I'm a distance energy healer, and I'm a spiritual awakening mentor. And as I said, I offer these channels for your awakening and ascension journey support. There is a free video below in the description box that leads you to how to create flow in your body for health and wellness. And then it leads you to more free content that I offer each week. So with that today, thank you again for joining me. And I'm going to get started. I have a little channel that I want to read that really kind of relates to this topic that I feel is important. And I'm going to read that now. Life is precious, as they say, with all the beauty in your way. Time, though, tells what one makes of it to be. For life is here to grab the ring that each has of experience in your way, whether it be of difficulty or pain or loss that you see. But then, just as often, it will too be filled with overwhelming joy for you. So take one step at a time, but always allow some stillness of mind to reflect on all this life has meant of your soul's journey and how it was spent. So, as we think about the idea of manifesting our best life, that in some ways can feel very Pollyanna-ish. Ostrich with their head stuck in the sand. I can just manifest anything I want, and it's going to be amazing, and it's going to come easily, and everything around me is going to be perfect. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to say I fully believe we can manifest in our life. Okay, many of us are seeing that happen now as we work through our awakening journey. A lot of that starts to open up to us, whether it be something little that you're manifesting in the course of your day or over a longer period of time. And that can be anything, whether it's something material, whether it's something more immaterial. But the idea of manifesting, I fully buy into. However, and I'm not going to try to sound like a Debbie Downer in this video because I don't think this is what it is, but I think what we have to understand in this journey is that it is not a smooth path to manifestation. Now, I think most of you kind of know that, but I want to talk about this from the perspective of our soul journey, because we are only, or at least the vast majority of us, only consciously aware of this life and this experience. And we don't even know what the future is going to bring in the life that we are in now. So we have the tiny grain of sand in this life that we understand, but we have a beach for a soul journey. So we only see a tiny, tiny part. So I want to talk about manifestation. I want to talk about being tested during that journey and what that means. Okay, so now they're giving me a picture, and this is really what I'm going to be talking about. And I'm going to give you this first, because I didn't expect this before I get started talking on my points. So they're showing a trail, okay? You're following your life path, whatever that means for you, just your life journey in general. They're showing that path, and they're showing disparate, different individual paths of all of us, okay? And they're showing some where, as in any kind of actual real hike, we might take off a little side route, okay? And we find, oh God, that was kind of tough. What the heck was I doing over there? And I had to climb this rocky area, and oh my gosh, get me back to the main path. And so you have to experience that and find your way back, and then you're back on your main path, okay? And then all of a sudden you're off doing something else, crossing a river and having to get wet, and you're like almost drowning. And it's like, what did I do that for? How did that happen? And then you're back, you're realizing, oh, I need to get back on my path and whatever that means. And somehow that that little side trail takes you back to your main path, and you're still back on that main path of your life journey. However, each of us has a different diversions off your main path that you're going to take. We don't know what those are. So in manifesting your best life, what they're showing me is you've got your path, right, that you're going down, but you have so many diversions that you need to take, and they're purposeful. And we don't understand that in this life, and they can be so dramatically stressful, and we don't know what to expect from one day to the next. And so what I want to do is I want to talk about that. They're giving me that analogy. So keep that picture in your mind of everybody's path is different. Some are maybe just more trajectory, straight, smooth. And why is that? Why do some of us get tested more than others? Why can't we just manifest as fast as the next guy? Why does this take so long? What does that even mean? So think of the path, because yours is different than the next person's. And I know you know that, but when we think of it from the perspective of what I'm going to talk about, it may help you, I'll just say, I don't know if it'll make you feel better about the journey, because the journey's hard. We know this. This journey is hard. This life journey is hard. Even if we have, beautiful things happen, we have tough stuff. So the whole idea of manifesting our best life, if we think about the other part of this is, well, what about, are we being tested along the way? How does this happen? That's that path that I just mentioned that they showed me in these little diversions, okay? The tests off to the side as you're going through these little trails, and then you hop back on your main path because you're manifesting your best life, right? Whatever that means along the way, multiple things often, all right? So one of the first things that have come into my awareness with all the work that I have done with my spirit team and my clients is that one of the things that we do not understand consciously is we bring in so much from our past lives. Things that we have decided in this life journey, particularly now during the ascension, that we want to clear, that we didn't have a chance to clear in a past life. And what they have shown me before, now they're showing me this again, is they always say that DNA is the library of you. And what they've told me before is that as you come into your incarnation, and particularly now in this incarnation, it's as though cellular memory has opened up in certain ways. It's like you turned on various switches to activate in your life from past lives of things that didn't get done necessarily, okay? This can be relationship situations where you want to get this lesson right this time and you kind of didn't. It may be emotions you didn't get to process in the past life. Often what I find is traumatic deaths in a past life come through in this life in some kind of having to clear that out because you were not able to process that and the passing was quick. So there's really something about taking that with you in your cellular memory and it needing to be released during another lifetime. So what I have found dramatically so is we all bring things forward into our current incarnation from past lives to release and to clear and to work on. This can be very eye-opening because not everybody's going to be able to obviously identify what those things are. But again, these are kind of those bumps along the road or those little side routes you take on your hike of your life journey. Some of these things that you don't expect, you don't know, they just show up out of the blue, right? And you're processing something, whether it's physical, whether it's dealing with a situation that you've had to repeat again. And like I said, you may not understand that. Most likely you're not going to. So know that as we go through this manifesting our best life, we're going to have things that we are clearing out of cellular memory. And that sometimes comes out in another way as physical situations, illnesses, physical ailments that you have, all kinds of things that you've brought forward to clear out. And that's kind of part of, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm being tested. Why is this all happening? But what I have found is it's clearly been brought in to be able to clear during this time of manifesting your best life, okay? So you're going to encounter these kinds of things. Not always know what you're up against, so just know that you do bring forward into this life things that you didn't get to accomplish or that you need to actually release from cellular memory in this life. And you don't have to be consciously aware of it. These things are going to happen. And then additionally, what we have is on the road to manifesting our best life and moving through this awakening journey, one of the other tests, if you want to call it that, is we have, and this may not be the proper definition, but this is how we consider it typically, karma. Okay, and in the how I'm using karma, whether it's fully accurate or not, it's more or less you can look at it as a debt to someone else. Okay, what did you do in a life in the past where you need to get that lesson right? Okay, you have and you can tie that also to the whole past life thing, but I want to speak specifically to the debt that we may owe someone else, and they in turn may owe us or others. Typically what we find is there's debts owed to everybody all over the place. So you come back in to redo that whole situation with that person, or you may redo that situation in another kind of scenario, but we bring in tests for ourselves again to be able to do the lesson over. It's like repeating a grade in school, right? You got to do it over, or you got to take the test over again. So again, here we are working to create a beautiful life, working through the awakening, but what the awakening will present to us is a more conscious understanding of we are going through this now to clear out, as I said, from past lives, to also pay debts back to others and they to us. So this can create bumps along the road, or this can create, as I mentioned, a pathway that you take and you're like, why am I here? I don't want to travel this. What did I get myself into? Okay, and then you come back after you've completed that, and then you breathe again and you're back on your pathway of living your life and creating the life that you want. And within this is a third thing, is there are lessons for ourselves that we want to complete. Forget past lives, forget debts owed to others throughout our soul journey. Because remember, I'm talking about a soul journey here, and we don't really consciously see that in this individual life. We think, what the heck is going on? Because we don't see the fullness of our soul journey. As I mentioned, grain of sand versus the beach, right? But we have things we come in and said, okay, this is my plan. I want to experience this. And some of these things are super hard, and you may think, why in the world did I put myself up against that? Why did I want to take on this challenge? What was I thinking? Now, again, what I'm going to say to you is as you move through awakening, you start connecting in a bit more with what's happening in your life, and you can start seeing kind of from an observer perspective of why this is occurring to you. You may start having knowings. Maybe you'll get some readings along the way, start really exploring what you can learn that maybe you can't intuitively pick up on and somebody else can, to be able to put pieces together for you. You're going to start knowing some of this, and you're going to start realizing, okay, that was clearly something that I wanted to experience, because I would not have felt like I would elect to do that thing. Now, some of these things are positive things that we've set up for lessons for ourselves too. And when I say positive, I'm talking about the feeling that we get from it. A lot of these things are incredibly hard. So what we've got here coming in to this lifetime, and I'm talking about an individual lifetime, where we are looking to, want to manifest, as so many people talk about manifesting whatever you want in your life. Well, guess what? You got all this stuff to deal with along the way. And that stuff is the past lives that we've talked about earlier, bringing forward things that you need to get right or do again. Then you have debts to other people, which can be wrapped up in past lives, obviously. Things that you didn't quite get right, they didn't quite get right. You're a player in it. Maybe you're here to help them through their karma and their debt, and you get wrapped up in that, but you volunteered to do that because, of course, as many of you know, we play a part in what we're going to do in each incarnation. And then thirdly, we have lessons for ourselves that we bring in, that we set up for ourselves, experiences, people we meet, all of this, to learn something about our soul selves and to be able to take away in this incarnation. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not just one or two things. It is a boatload, I have found. I feel literally like every single day, unless you go live in a cave, which I still think things would happen in the cave, we are faced with small, big, medium-sized things that we are doing each day that relate to things that I just mentioned. So what do you do about this, right? So here we are, want to manifest, as so many people talk about the idea of manifesting, and then we run into all these things. And we don't know what we've planned, right? Because again, we only see this life. So what I've realized is, and oh my gosh, so many days will come and I'll think, and I've seen it with other people too, I'll think, oh my gosh, where am I going? What is happening? Why is this occurring with me? Why do I have to get taken off my path? Why do I have to deal with this today? So now what I want to talk about is, what do you do about this? How can you make this a smoother process while still knowing that you're going to go off your path and you're going to have some of the difficult hikes in your journey, and you're going to wonder how you're ever going to get back. You're going to also have the beauty too, but I'm talking about the part where you're tested, okay, where we feel like we're tested. And I'm using that as a term because we often think about life as a test, right? But anyway, so we've talked about those three things. What do you do about it, right? Okay, so first of all, and this may just sound so Pollyanna, but having trust and faith in the process. I am here to tell you that as we stay in flow, work to be in flow, and it's kind of hard when you're having a stressful time, stay in meditation, stay in flow, in the now moment. No wonder the now moment is so important, because in the now moment, as you stop thinking so much about the future and the past, then you are more easily able to deal with what is in front of you, of the difficult time, of the thing that you feel you're being tested on, okay? Because you're not doing this thing of projecting so far out and making it be a bigger story than it really is, and then completely freaking yourself out, right? So this goes to trust and faith in the process, knowing that you are going through this good reason. You've had so many signs and messages. This is the awakening. You know this is what it's about. We're coming out of the ashes. We're building ourselves into this beautiful phoenix that's going off and flying. So yes, this is the stuff we're coming out of. Okay, the butterfly in the cocoon. You can use that as examples as well, or analogies. But the other part of this is when we have that trust and faith in the process, and we just have that, even though we will have doubts along the way, this is part of knowing that your higher self, your soul self, has your best interest in mind. Now, that can be highly difficult because our higher self is not emotional, all right? Our higher self really looks at things from the perspective of, what can you learn? What can you work on? What can you clear? What can you do to make yourself be all you can be and more, and realize the fullness of you? And that comes through what we'll call good and bad experiences, but our higher self doesn't look at it that way. So really, as we start to get connected into our higher self, putting that trust and faith in this process, first of all, and then secondarily, knowing our higher self has our best interest in mind, because we do not see things the way our higher self does in human form. In fact, oftentimes, it's the flip of it. Some of the most difficult things in our life are our biggest teachers. Some of the most difficult people in our lives are our biggest teachers. And you can all look back, I am sure, and realize, and in the awakening, we're faced with figuring a lot of this out. It comes into our awareness, where we're faced with really understanding that the beauty in life is this journey, and the beauty often comes out of the struggle. So I also feel that this is why oftentimes we feel we are tested, but then as we get time between the event and where we are now, we're able to see the forest for the trees. We're able to see that, oh my gosh, this is growing out of that struggle, that difficulty. Now, it can be hard to see that, but again, it all can kind of come in due time as you start looking back on why these things happen. And this is very much part of the awakening journey, to be able to be consciously aware that often life brings you the opposite of what you expect, so that you can even blossom even further. Because that's how we grow. Okay, so now they're giving me a picture. They're giving me a picture of grapes, okay, like grapevines. Oh, they just said the struggle of the grape. Okay, so there's some understanding, I guess, that grapes in the struggle, in difficult soil, they become a more beautiful grape. I don't know anything about grapes, but that's what they're showing me, okay? Struggle out of the soil. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so like the phoenix rising out of the ashes. So the struggles are really the opportunity for us to become even a stronger version of ourselves, a more advanced version of ourselves. And again, we don't see that all the time in humankind. So again, trust and faith in the process. Just know this is a process that many across the world are going through, and it follows a similar trajectory, and that your higher self has the best in mind for you. And thirdly, important to understand, which is kind of hard to wrap your head around, is we planned a lot of our incarnation. We planned what we're here to do and work on. Now, during this time when you're having these things happen, in addition to what I just talked about here, having that awareness of the higher self and trust and faith, self-care is super important. So what can really happen to us when we're tested in this life journey as we're manifesting this beautiful life? Because that sounds really counter, right? You're totally tested. How are you going to manifest a best life? Oh, yes, you still can, because you're going to learn from those experiences. However, self-care has to keep up, because so often what we'll do is we'll have something horrific happen, something difficult, something traumatic, something just frustrating, and we will take ourselves away from ourselves. We will do less self-care. And when I mean self-care, I'm talking about, diet, exercise, sleep, little things each day. Like for me, an Epsom salt bath just solves all my problems. Things like that. What kind of self-care are you doing? Because so often when we have difficulties facing us, we take it out on ourselves and we fall apart. And I do understand that, because I've been there many, many times where, well, a great example, when I was helping Kent through his brain cancer, I lost so much weight. I wasn't eating. I was super thin, and I wasn't that healthy. And I was probably drinking more wine than I needed to as well. But again, those were like coping mechanisms for me. But the thing is, I wasn't awakened then either, so I didn't understand this. I would have been completely different, treated myself differently as well. Rather than taking it out on myself, which it felt like I was doing when I was helping and caring for him because I was so focused on him, I think I would have a different perspective knowing what I know today. So these self-care practices, we have to remember to continue to take care of ourselves during the times we feel we're being tested in this awakening journey where we're manifesting our best life, okay? And then I think another thing that's important to know, and some of these kind of sound Pollyanna-ish, but honestly, there's a new day to come. And you all know in the awakening how one day you can just have what feels like the world's kind of falling apart, and the next something incredibly magical happens. And so understanding that one day it is of light and bright and possibly of difficulty and stress, and the next it can flip around and be completely the opposite. This isn't to freak anybody out. It's to let you know that this is the life journey, and yet it's also the awakening journey when so many things are showing up for us to experience, to clear, to understand. And it's going to be different potentially every day. And just know that when we're going through these difficult struggles, there's a new day to come. There is a new day to come, which again, I go back to the focus on the now moment is critically important during this time, which I still go back to the foundation of the awakening is meditation, because meditation will allow you, that's part of self-care, okay, that'll allow you to not do the whole awfulizing thing that we do when we think so far in the future, and then we take ourselves down this horrible rabbit hole. So again, self-care is critical. There's always a next day to come. And it's amazing what just a night's sleep can do when we're on a journey of not understanding what happened to us that particular day. So with that, there is a day to come. Everything can change on a dime. We know that in the awakening journey. So another thing that this feels kind of, I'll just say, more advanced, like as you get further down the awakening journey, this starts to happen. And I've actually talked to a number of people right now that are having this happen. And I think I had a recent video on this where we start to become the observer of our own experiences and also our interactions with others. And I will tell you right now, wow, to be able to be the observer of something stressful that you're going through and to be able to react in a way that takes out that extreme emotional component that is very human created, and be able to observe the event that's testing you at the moment from the outside looking in, but you're still there participating in it. It's very hard to put into words until you've experienced it. That is the most powerful thing. So as we're going through this awakening journey, and we have these moments of, or days or weeks, of feeling like we're being tested, being able to step out of the way we would normally look at things, which would be heavily emotionally involved and like in the thick of things, to be able to be that observer. Now, I will tell you, to me, that is not a learned thing. I did not go out learning to be the observer. It just happened one day. Now, it doesn't mean I'm doing it all the time, but I will tell you it's become much more prevalent, especially when I'm with other people who might be a little bit more of an irritant to me. I'm able to observe that. But the point here is as you're going through these testing phases, as you're going through these paths that you take off your main path to manifesting your best life through this awakening, because that's what it's about, right? Like sludging through the jungle and the thicket and cutting it all down, but you might have to take some paths off to the side that are going to cause you to pull on these tools and these thought processes. So being that observer and looking and saying, oh, wow, you know what? This part of my journey, okay, let's see what we can learn. And seeing how you're reacting from a different perspective. Again, it's really looking from the outside of what's happening to you and being able to still participate in a way that is of greater calmness. So again, that's very hard to articulate, but again, many of you have started to see this, how it feels, even an individual situation, or more consistently, how you can be an observer to the things that are happening in your life and be able to handle it in a more, I guess I would say, comfortable way. And I think too, what the observer role really allows us to do is to deal with so much more that comes our way in the awakening journey with a level head, when possibly we would never have done that. So again, that's a natural part of this process. So another piece of being able to deal with what comes our way during the awakening journey, the testing of this traveling down our life path, is really thinking about how you employ your spirit team help. Because I'm here to tell you, they can make a marked difference. But it's kind of in mystical, magical ways. You're not always going to get a one-to-one correspondence. And if it is, you might not understand it because they speak in different ways. And when I say speak, that also includes action. Things that will come your way, things that will assist you in your journey. Ask to receive is truer than true is what they say. And then they say, and then give us gratitude. So that, if you take anything away from this, know that your spirit team is here to help you, but we have to ask to receive. And they will work with us side by side, create that relationship as we're going through these difficult times, as you can employ all these tools. Your spirit team tool box is probably one of the most important I have found. I could do 10 videos on all the things that have happened to me with my angels and my guides that have assisted me in ways that I wouldn't have expected. So you put the thing out there, and then you don't look at it anymore, but you ask them for assistance of the specific thing you need. What is it that you need assistance with? And ask them to help you along their journey, continuing to build that energetic relationship with them each day. And the more we do things regularly and early on, the more they're going to be powerful for us as we travel this journey and maybe run into these bumps along the road, these times that we're tested in this journey of creating our best life out of this awakening. And then what I do is I ask for my next steps. Help me understand, what is it I should do next? Help me understand in some way, what in this very difficult situation can I do to make this happen? And lots of times, here's what happens. When you're so wrapped up in something traumatic or emotional, your higher self will just kick in and things just start to roll along the way. And you just take action. You're not even thinking, you're just doing. And oftentimes this can be in supercharged moments. And it was a great example for me was when I was taking care of Kent with brain cancer. For 10 months, my higher self took over. I've never seen anything like it. And this is what will happen oftentimes in very traumatic situations that you might be dealing with. But otherwise, making sure that You ask for the next steps, and then just kick back and know that you have asked, and things will come your way in ways that you will not imagine. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is, well, how do you come to the party on this, other than the things I just talked about? What is the part of the action for you? I still say when you're faced with certain things in your life, we still have to do. We still have to act. We still have to plan. And I'm not saying, every single step of the way out 10 years, but when you're encountering a testing moment, there may come a time where you need to reevaluate how things are going in your life, how you're living your life, the choices you're making. What are you going to do differently? What is your plan? Rather than just get through it, if that makes sense. Because there's learning in all of this for us. So what are you learning? So, journal this, document it, sit down and think about it, plan. Great example for me has been this financial struggle, okay, of trusting that I will be taken care of. And we all have this whole financial construct that's breaking down for many of us in one way or another. Losing jobs, starting our own businesses, it goes on and on, right? Financial struggles, because it's one of the biggest constructs that's breaking down right now. But the point is in these times of being tested, we still have to act. And in my case, my financial situation was, okay, how am I going to start this business? Well, guess what? I didn't just go start and not have any forethought about it. I did my budget first. I figured out what all my expenses were. How can I do this? How can I make this happen? What are my action steps? So, and I could go on and on about that, but the point is when I was faced with situations where I was freaking out about the financials, I also sat down. I did all the things that I just told you about. I might not have been fully conscious at that time of doing them, but I was doing them, I now realize. But then I acted. Then the human came to the party and made those shifts and changes, did some of the things that I knew I needed to do, rather than just let things happen to you, okay? Because I have always believed, and I've seen this in my awakening journey, is that as we move through this journey, it is a situation where the human comes to the party, your spirit team comes to the party. It's an energetic partnership, okay? And in this journey, we learn. So that means that we also are participating. So as we come through these very difficult times in our life, whatever they are, how are you participating? You can't just hand over the keys to someone else or to, fully to the universe. We have to participate. I firmly believe that. Now, some of you may not agree with me at all, that this is about releasing everything, but we're here to participate. And I have seen that in my life, and how the difficult things in my life, I've been able to really wrap up in it with a bow and say, okay, here's how I'm going to participate and move forward in what I've learned and what I'm going to take forward to make these next things happen. Okay, but you're still in the now moment dealing with what you have in front of you. So this can be a really confusing topic when you think about the idea of manifesting your best life and just moving forward, putting that thing out there that you want and then letting it go. But then you get all these difficult things that come your way. How in the heck are you going to manifest, right? So the idea of this today was to help you understand why these difficult things come our way, and then what you can do to deal with those difficult things and make them smoother, and also participate in your own journey to continue to do the thing you want to do, which is manifest what you want in this life. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's one where I've just been pondering for a while, like, I need to talk about this, but how do I talk about this? So I hope you took something away from this. It wasn't too confusing. And again, as I always say, check out my services on purplerainhealing.com. It's where I list all my channeling services, because everything I do involves channeling for your soul journey. 3 options of channeling. I also have distance energy healing and channeling, and spiritual awakening mentoring, where I channel extensively to help you move forward in the joys and the difficulties of spiritual awakening. So with that today, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video.